Hey everyone, Mr. Lime here. A lot of you probably know me from a game called Dwarves vs. Zombies. Most of you probably know that the game itself actually ended back in January, the end of January. And for a long time, since about August of 2017, not 2017, 2018, I wanted to make kind of a farewell video for DBZ, kind of showing what the game meant to me, what the people meant to me, all that sort of stuff. And, almost a year later, let's see, it's June, July, yeah, like 8 months later, that still hasn't happened. And I guess I sort of owe people an apology for kind of hyping it up and saying, like, there's this really cool thing I want to do. I'm sorry, guys. I unfortunately struggle with finding motivation to do things, and I lose motivation for things very easily. I got pretty far in the actual project, and I really haven't touched it since March, maybe February. And as it stands, I don't think, well, I'm definitely not going to actually finish that. At least not in the way that I had started. Which is why I'm making this. This is going to be my farewell video. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be as well thought out. It's not going to be as, I don't know the word for it. But yeah, it's just gonna be me sharing my thoughts about the game. So I guess we'll start at the beginning when I first started playing DBZ. This was February, maybe late January of 2014. I remember because my birthday came up, like 2 weeks after I really started playing. I'd been playing a little bit before with some friends, but not like super consistently. But it was, I would say, late January, early February of 2014 is when I really started like playing the game and just became obsessed with it, honestly. And yeah, I was just it was kind of magical almost. There's not many things that I can really think of in my life that I just so easily was able to dedicate so much time to. And it wasn't really long before I got my first title, which was, what was it? Oh, right, Ranger. Because I remember I actually got the Ranger title, I think it was the same weekend as my birthday. Man, that was amazing. Because I remember, like, I was kind of, I was just a nobody like everybody else when I first started playing, and that kind of got me noticed, which is really what I wanted in a way. I just see other people playing with each other, and I was like, I wish I had friends too. Because, I mentioned that I had started playing with some other friends of mine, but once I started playing regularly, we kind of stopped communicating as much, and I don't want to say that DBZ is the reason for that, because there are a lot of other things going on there, but it definitely played a role. So, getting a title was incredible, honestly. It's funny because when I first found out about the titles, I really wanted to be Gravedigger, because I just thought that getting shovel kills was really, really funny and silly, and I'm all about silly things. But that didn't really pan out, because it turned out that I was pretty bad at melee combat back then, and maybe even still now. That's certainly up for debate. But I even had this funny idea of how I could get those shovel kills, which was waiting for worthless squids to spawn so I could just have a lot of monsters I could easily kill with my shovel. And like I said, that didn't really it didn't really work out the way I'd hoped, but that's life. So yeah, I got my title. People started noticing me. It was all pretty good. I mean, well, I say it was all good. My work ethic in school was not great at the time, and playing DBZ nonstop didn't really help a lot, and that's probably one of two big regrets I have in regards to DBZ, and that's playing DBZ instead of focusing on my schoolwork when I really should have been. But yeah, so it took me a little bit longer before I really found a group to play with. Eventually I got added to a Skype call where I met a lot of my good DBZ friends, some of which I don't really talk to anymore. It's not because we had a falling out or anything. People just kind of drift apart, and I still I follow them on Twitter, still communicate every once in a while, but not as often as we used to, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But yeah. So yeah, I got added to the Skype call. It was actually by a good friend of mine who first asked. A lot of you probably know the name, Weather Freak. And yeah, one day I was just playing, and he asked me if I wanted to join her and a few other people in a call, and I was like, well, I was nervous, I was scared, but I said yes, and that's, yeah. I this is kind of hard to talk about because Weather Freak was a good friend of mine, and it's really unfortunate because, let's see, God, this is terrible. I don't even remember what year it was. I think it was 2016. May. It was 2016 or 2017. I remember hanging out with some friends of mine, and all of a sudden I was informed that Weather had died, and all I could really think was, Jesus, that's messed up. Not in those words exactly, but and it's, see, even when I was writing out my other thing, I thought I'd kind of processed this, but it's still hard to talk about. But yeah, it's kind of weird to think that somebody that I had met through DBZ had somebody that I never even really met in real life, but was still as much of a friend as anyone else, was just gone, and it's still kind of hard to think about. Sometimes I'll see her name in my Skype contacts or on Steam, and it's just like, oh yeah, they're not really around anymore. And that's my other regret with DBZ, is that they were such a great friend to me, and I don't really feel like I was as good a friend back to them as I could have been, or as I should have been, and I never really got a chance to make it up to them. And I mean, I never will, but it's hard to deal with that stuff. And I guess even though I thought I had come to terms with it, maybe I'm still dealing with it in my head. But moving on, Skype eventually moved to TeamSpeak because TeamSpeak was much better for the 14-hour Skype calls we would do pretty much every day. We didn't need somebody to, excuse me, I just burped. I apologize. We didn't need somebody to host the TeamSpeak, obviously. And it was just easier, and yeah. And then moving forward, TeamSpeak eventually kind of died, and then yeah, everything else just kind of fizzled out, and eventually DBZ ended. But man, what a trip it was. I mean, God, it's funny. I say I was obsessed with the game, and that's in part a lot because of leaderboards. And leaderboards, I know, were a very contentious topic for a lot of the community for a good period of time. And for me, when I first started playing the game, I never really wanted the game to be about kills, about stats, about that sort of stuff. I wanted it to be about having fun and enjoying the game with other people, with friends. And leaderboards kind of changed that for me. Once I got on them, the game started to become all about stats, getting as high as I could in as little time as possible, how many kills I needed to get the next game to go up in rank. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not a good way to play the game. It makes it more stressful than it needs to be, on top of already being stressed from school and my poor work ethic, making it extra stressful. But it also kind of made me a jerk. I wouldn't say that I was the jerkiest person in the community. I could go on a lot about my feelings about the community and how, in a lot of ways, it was amazing and awesome and incredible to be a part of, but in a lot of ways, it was severely lacking. But I really want to talk about the good things about the game, which I guess that's why I'm talking about how awful leaderboards were. But yeah, leaderboards just kind of changed the way I play the game, and it changed me as a person. And it took me a few months to realize what the leaderboards were doing to me. And thankfully, I did realize it, because there was a definite point where I was able to say, okay, this game isn't about kills. If I get kills, I get kills, and if I don't, I don't. But if I'm not having fun, then it's not worth playing. So every game I would go in looking to have a good time. And if I wasn't having a good time, I just wouldn't play. So that makes me honestly really proud, because I got high on the Ranger board. I think I ended that season rank 13, but I did break top 10 at one point, but fell because I had a few weeks where I was without a computer and ended up dropping as a result of it. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm proud of is that after I stopped caring about the leaderboards, after the leaderboards were reset, I did finally become a gravedigger by nature of getting better at the game and improving. And I was able to climb to the top 10 on the gravedigger board by nature of just enjoying the game and improving as a player. And I feel like what really helped me to become a better player, a more well-rounded player, not just in skill, but also in attitude, helping other players, was not caring about the leaderboards. And of course, the leaderboards finally being done away with, which when they were finally removed, I feel like most of the community was in agreement that that the game was better off without leaderboards, which in my opinion is a good thing, that we were able to collectively come to that conclusion. But definitely learning to not care about the game, in the sense that there were other ways to enjoy it without stressing out, definitely made me a better player, and in a lot of ways a better person, I think. And it taught me a lot of different ways to play the game. When I first started out, I was always trying to be on the front line, like I said, getting as many kills as I could so I could go up in rank. And I learned to not do that, because everybody was doing that. What nobody was doing, and I hope this is still recording, because my monitor just went to sleep. I don't see why it why would stop recording? Anyway, what helped me learn to play a more well-rounded game was I forgot what sorry, this is a weird thing to explain. I started playing more conservatively because everybody else was always on the front lines getting kills, kill farming, which I could say a lot about that. In general, not good. Slab farming, especially not good, but we're not here to talk about that. But I learned to play more conservatively, which to me opened up a whole new world for the game. And honestly, in a lot of ways, it feels like I fell in love with the game a second time as a result of that, because I don't know, there was just something about being the only thing between the monsters and actually capping the shrine. And of course, you weren't really the only thing between that, but there was just this rush where you were the only person defending the shrine and monsters were still getting through and you were able to clear the shrine. It's a hard thing to explain, but I'm sure people who played a similar style to me get it. But it also taught me about building defenses and how important they actually were. Because, I mean, yeah, you use defenses in the game regardless of who you are. You know, you use the proc tunnels, but you don't actually make them. You don't understand the hard work that goes into it, and you don't understand just how valuable it is to have people making that stuff. I always say to people that you can be skilled in the game and not be mechanically skilled, right? And this extends to other games as well, but like just having the knowledge of the game and how it works. You don't have to be a frontline person. You don't have to be the best at melee or ranged combat. You know, the people who build proc tunnels are some of the most important, if not the most important people in the game, because they can artificially extend the game way longer than any kill farmer can. And I firmly stand by that belief. But it really took being the person to actually build those defenses to really realize just how vital they were and how important people like that are to the game, and how again, like how much variety there is to the game and how many ways people can enjoy the game, and unfortunately how narrow-minded some people could be in terms of what makes a person good at the game. So I guess I said I wanted to talk about positive things. I might as well talk about some of the negatives, and the community could be very narrow-minded at times, and it's really unfortunate. And I guess a third regret that I didn't think of at first was me not working harder to make the community a better place for people, because I always think to how unforgiving, I mean, the game itself was already unforgiving to new people. That's nothing new to anybody, but the community itself was very unforgiving to new players. And so many people were unwilling to lend a helping hand, teach people how to actually play the game, and would rather instead go mob every game and purposely target new players who didn't really know how to defend themselves. And that to me is not really a good thing. And I've seen the argument made like it's not the other players' job to teach new players, but it kind of is, you know? Like, if we're not helping other people to play the game, then you're going to get what we got most of the time, and it's just going to be all veterans playing the game, and you get really, really boring games because everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody is as good as the game as they possibly can be. And there's just no variety because you just don't have this influx of new players who, yeah, they might be bad at the game, but they deserve a chance to get better. And I feel like the community was very, very, God, I don't even know the word for it. It was very unwelcoming to these new players. And I really wish that I myself could have been more vocal in expressing my own discontent for that, and I also feel like I could have definitely done better to actually be more of a role model to other players. because unfortunately I feel like it does come down to the role models that new players had. The new players that did stick around had a lot of, frankly, jerks to look up to, and they saw that this attitude was prevalent and not really, God, what's the word? Not really discouraged. So they was like, well, it must be okay, and everybody else is doing it, so I'll do it too. And that's not a good thing. But despite that one huge failing, in my opinion, huge failing, other people can feel differently, and that's perfectly acceptable. Despite that one failing, like, we really did have an amazing community, and part of it I think is because it was smaller in terms of gaming communities. It's certainly the smallest that I've ever really been a part of. But we had people from all over the world coming together to enjoy this game, to enjoy DBZ. We had it's I don't even know how to explain just how incredible it was to see so many different people, so many different ages even. Like, sometimes it's easy to forget how many people were younger than me, because I was an older player even when I started playing, being in college. And I think that's the most amazing thing to me, just how many different people were able to play this game and enjoy it together. And what's even more incredible is how many people were able to, I guess, find a place to belong. Because that's a big thing for me. I never really, even now, I still don't really have a lot of friends in real life, or at least not close friends. And that's slowly changing, but it's been a consistent theme across a lot of my life. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's definitely been many times in life where I felt like I just kind of didn't really belong anywhere. And DBZ, I feel like, is one of those places where I really felt like I belonged. And there's been other internet communities that I've been a part of, and I felt like I belonged there. But DBZ is the largest, and I'm super thankful for that, honestly. Because I don't know what kind of person I would be without the game. But going back to how amazing the community is, what's especially amazing is how I can think of at least 2 couples who have since been married after meeting in DBZ, and that's amazing. We're able to find our best friends, or even the love of our lives, through this game, and that's, like, I don't think words can really describe that. But what's most amazing is that, like, yeah, DBZ is gone, but we all have these memories of playing the game together, and even if people slowly drift apart, we lose friends all the time. Not because you get into fights, but just because your lives go in different directions. Even if that happens, we're all gonna have these memories that we've made together for the rest of our lives. And that's, to me, the most beautiful thing about this game, about DBZ, is that so many people from around the world were able to come together and play, and that so many people were able to share memories together. And that even with it's gone, even with DBZ gone, we still have those memories, and we're still making more memories with some of the people that we are still in contact with. And I am genuinely sad that the game is gone. Despite me not really playing it too much towards the end, I am genuinely sad that it's gone, if only because it played such a pivotal role in making me the person that I am, and bringing me to some of the most important people in my life. So yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say for this farewell video. It's kind of rambly, and if you stayed this long, thanks, and yeah, I'll be seeing you guys around.